question is, let's go back to the question. The question is, surely what sets apart the Beis HaMikdash from every other place on earth is just that, the Beis HaMikdash. That Yaakov said, this place is awesome. But surely the place is created, it's part of creation like all other places. The Shekhinah had not come down. So what does he mean? So to explain this, he's now explaining the difference between creation, Isavos mitzat Shem Havaya, and Isavos creation mitzat Shem Alikim. And posited that Isavos creation from Shem Havaya is B'derech HaMelech, and Bekiruv, that means that which it produces is in its world. And B'derech HaMelech means just Shem Havaya being Shem Havaya, as it were. We'll see a nuance later, it seems, in this. But like the Mo'er naturally produces light, and the light is Bekiruv El HaMo'er, the light reflects the Mo'er, the light expresses the Mo'er, especially as explained earlier. That's one way of creation. That creates something or produces something which is Bekiruv. Then the Shem Alikim, which is Bislapshus, invested, and Berichuk. And the motion for that is Koyach and Poel. So let's look at the classic Koyach and Poel model, which is throwing a stone upwards. So Bislapshus means that you've got to invest. This is not natural. The person is not a natural thrower of stones. It's not his natural state. It's a decision to throw a stone. And it's berichug, because that's not his world. It's not his world. That's the tension here, or the paradox. Not a paradox, but there is this element of paradox here in that it's distant and it requires effort. It's not a paradox, that's the point. Because it's not his world, so it's effort to do so. So we're up to Mizem Muvan, the last two lines. If you have page Shin, no, you have a different setup completely. All right. Let's have the photocopies that I gave, so let me tell you where we are. So but look for the number 41. We'll start from there, talking. The number 4, didn't you do it? We'll go back even further. We'll go back even further. Go back to Inyan Islapshus. Islapshus, in contrast to the Isavos B'derech HaMelech. He's stated in the beginning of this bracket, this paragraph that begins with and closes with the square brackets, which means it's hasbara. It means a hasbara that even if the Maimon didn't say, the Maimon would still continue. Round brackets means it's integral to clarifying the text. So he's saying that when the Isavos says B'derech HaMelech, so what is happening here? The words of the mind, meaning what is the reality? The reality is that the Mokkah just being the Mokkah, a luminary, and Moy produces light. The other example he gave is Seichel and Midas. Seichel is being Seichel. When Seichel goes through the process that Seichel should go through, it produces Midas. So in the Midas, the Seichel is felt. You can see what the meditation was to produce this feeling. In the Oyer, the Moyer is felt. That's Bekiruv. the kirov. It's the natural world of the moed, or the natural world of the seichel is to produce. In the case of the moed, light. In the case of the seichel, midas. But to produce something where it's barichah b'mim koira. The words chdei shisava dov, let's stick inside. Chdei shisava, again, 4 lines in the top of that paragraph. Something which says barichah b'mim koira. What does that mean? Barichah b'mim koira. It's not the natural result. There's a decision. The example is throwing the stone. So then it's not indifferent, as it were, to use that expression, that it naturally produces. But derech is lapshus. You've got to be invested. The person's descends, as it were, from his state, which is not a stone thrower, and he throws the stone. The point of this lapshus is not getting invested in that world, the world of the flying stone. That's not the mocker. The mocker is not misgal with that. A person's not a stone thrower, a flying stone producer. Allow that up. She's getting involved in producing something novel. The stone that's flying, the ball that's sailing through the air, that he is kicked or thrown, whatever it is. It's a davar chodosh, it's outside his world, so it's berichuk, it's distant. You don't feel the mocket in the stone, flying stone, like you do looking at seichel, you know what midis, looking at midis, you know what seichel produced. If you just see the throwing stone, it could be any number of causes. You see the stone sailing or the ball sailing through the air, you don't know what kicked it through it. Very many things. So you know there is something that produced it. It's not nirgish. Yeshleimbar putting like the emotion already in the words now, and I'm spelling out the emotion. The keichel in that time of the reasons of there are others. Of the reasons that the amshach of the pull of the koyach is not derech hamelech yet. The person is not naturally throwing stones. The koyach effects, it's pale and not derech hamelech. Because the pu'ula is berichak, and as he says, in Yedua, even further clarity, it's something novel. Person has energy, can do endless things with it, and never throw a stone in his life. Now we say ruchni, we mean the energy that bears aloft the stone. That's what ruchni means, not kedusha. It's not a tangible thing. Energy is not tangible. And the result is Gashmis. It's like in Yiheye, Kamoi, not exactly. It's like Yeshmai. That's what he puts now in italics. It's called Derech Yeshmai. Similar to Yeshmai, which is not a natural consequence. It's a decision of the market, but to produce the ayin. Yeah.
Something is betrayal. There's no necessity that it turns into betrayal. Ultimately, seichel will bring midos.
No, that's not koyach play.
No, but it's right, different. Seichel will bring midos. Koyach will not necessarily innate, but it also may not.
Yeah, a person can never throw something in its entire life. Never throw stuff. Yeah, that's a davar chodosh, and therefore it is at once bislapshus. You've got it. Slapshus means the decision to do so and get invested in that world, and to get involved in the whole act of picking up the stone and throwing it. You mean slapshus in the world of the stone. That's a decision. It's not your world. Whereas seichel, when seichel goes through the process of chochma, bin and das, it'll produce a midah. If he doesn't go through the process, if there's no das, as he says in Tanya, it'll be dimyoin the shov. by the way, one's address is there's demyonis shav and there's good demyonis. Not every imaginary thing is bad. But that we once spoke about, not again. It's a very important demyonis. At any rate, but when Seichel goes to the process of Chachma bin V'das, it's going to produce a feeling. Now, some things are very easily produced when you readily understand how terrifying something is. Then the mid is produced immediately, fear, and you run for your life. When you readily understand that something is beneficial, then you go run for it, run after it. Comes to Ruchnis, it's a much more difficult process, but we go through Kedusha. We go through Chacham bin Adas, it's going to produce the Midah. And we have to remember, bear in mind, there's two things he's saying. The Midah is B'derech Mamela and B'kiruv L'mkeira. Meaning to say, that's the world. The world of Seichel will produce Midas. In Binah, there's already the Midah, if you look at the previous minor. And Behelim, even in Chacham. It's B'kiruv L'mkeira. Like Oir is B'kiruv to the Moir. So these two words you need to fully grasp belong together. Kiruv and Derech HaMeila is Slapshus and Richah. We're clear on that. We're clear on that. Then we can go further. Yeah, guys. Chaim, you understand? Good.
Is it because it's far, that's why it needs a Slapshus?
Yeah, exactly. The two, they're inseparable. Because it's far. Again, a person is not a stone thrower. It's not his world. So if he's going to throw a stone, he's got to be in, so the Slapshus means get involved in that world. That's not going to produce just by you being you. If it's a decision to be slavish, which means pick up the stone and pay attention to the stone. Slapshus means be aware of, pay attention, and be conscious of it. Let's make this even clearer. Thank you for asking the questions that even clarify. In Seichel, or more is even easier to see. More thinks about, or doesn't even think about it. More it produces light. Slapshus means you've got to be thinking about that thing and a decision to get involved in it. You're going to leave your world and there's something else. There's a stone that he wants to throw. Such a natural world. Like all Seichel and Midas to a degree, though, he's going to explain later the difference between these two Mishalim. But in Seichel and Midas, each one has a mind of soul. Seichel and Midas, if the Seichel will go through the process, he didn't. And when he went, similar. When he's going through this meditation, he wasn't thinking, I'm going to have a feeling it's going to produce. I want the feeling. It's just purely in the world of Seichel. But if he's going to go through it properly, Chacham bin Adas, the feeling's going to happen. You don't have to will it into existence. You don't have to will it, but throwing the stone is will. But what's the will? To get down, be slavish in the world of stones and throwing and football, whatever you're playing. Whatever the motion is, playing football. Because soccer. It's a decision to be slavish in the world of football and kick that ball around, hope we score a goal. But that's bislapshus. You're not born a footy player, a soccer player. The B'kayach, you could, potentially. Energy can be expressed in all kinds of ways. It's not mukhrif. So again, let's get the two sides of the page. We draw a line and put the two words here and two words there. B'derech HaMeila, kiruv. What it produces is b'kiruv l'mkeira. Moshel, midas, seichel, oir, mo'ir. Islapshus, berichuk. The moshel of Islapshus is the koich peil. The true moshel of that is throwing the stone. There are other mishalim also. There's writing or art. He says in order 43 is not the true moshel because those things involve a lot of seichel and emotion. So there's a little bit of moir over there. Someone's born someone's born with the talent for writing, it's going to express itself, kind of almost v'derech hamel. Or he's an artist, almost a derech hamel. By throwing a stone, it's completely davar chad. You don't have to throw a stone all your life, you'll be okay. You'll be slaves. We're up to, so again, number 41. Go down 3 lines. It's after, after the brackets, Al derech yeshmai. Throwing the stone is like yeshmai. Completely novel, not mukhrib. Let's continue. So up to yesterday, repeat it again. So koyach here is something novel. On the one hand, we do know the koyach. Before he was saying, if you look at midas, you know what the understanding wants to produce this. Now, the same thing. If you look at the koyach, you know there's a force that produced it. What that means is, you see the stone is flying, so you know that someone kicked this or threw this. But the actual pu'ula itself, you're not seeing the koyach, you're just seeing the stone flying. So much so you don't know who did it. You only know who threw it. So yoidim is a koyach kind of means you know that there is a koyach, stones don't fly, something made a decision or whatever, somewhere along the line to get this thing sailing through the air contrary to its nature, the stones to lie undisturbed, drawn to earth. But the pula atzmalei nirgish ba'koyach. Looking out of 42, they see Mamorim eter. The koyach honela, the koyach is concealed in the actual pu'ula. And then v'mavur b'makim ache elsewhere, the koyach of gilui. But koyach is a gilui. When you see a stone that's sailing, not downwards, it could fall. But it's going upwards. Clearly, something. There's a koyach that enveloped this and is producing it. You can see there's a force that's throwing it. It's something obviously is bearing this aloft. But you don't know what it is. It's concealed completely. Whereas in the middle, you can look at the middle and you know exactly what the person was thinking that produced this feeling of dread, love, or whatever, compassion. The koyach is not nirgish. You see that there is a koyach. It's not nirgish. What is it? Not felt. The koyach doesn't carry itself. The person's decision, to throw the stone is not felt in the stone. You don't know why this is going, what it's going for. Pardon?
You know that there was.
It is actually watching things through the air. Well, there's a koyach right now. Comes from a mocker. The koyach is mislabish. There's the velocity, the energy of the person is wrapped around the stone. Yeah, at push you don't see it, but you know that it's there. We know that there's a koyach. We know that there's energy that's bearing this aloft. The koyach itself is nelam. It's actually two things. You don't see the energy, but also the source of what produced it is completely no idea. No idea. It's an animal kicked at a person's throat, whatever. But really, the ikar nekuda is that the koyach itself is a ruchnisdike thing. The energy is a ruchnisdike thing. Energy is pure energy. Continue. The koyach is ruchni. V'apula higashmis. The result is the flying star. Eina koyach ruchni is galeb pula gashmis. The koyach ruchni itself is not revealed in the Pula Gashmis. Now 43, the point that we said before, the main meaning of koyach is when the effect is something completely outside the person's world. Again, a Pula Gashmi is like this throwing of the stone or whatever. Pula zu, it's in this. Making a painting or making a keli where invested in there is emotion, seichel. So that's not the true, it's not just koyach, there's seichel invested there as well, not just pure energy. It's the person invested in the tzir, in the siyas keli. But in throwing a stone, it's just pure energy, ein dirigish koyach. You don't see it. See it, I'm base, which I can look up, and Toshin Zayin, always minded for the Okay. Let's continue. Yesh Lohisif. Okay, so it's like three inyanim we have here. Number one is the koyach is a koyach ruchni. By ruchni, we don't mean kedusha, we just mean not physically tangible, energy. That's what it means, energy. Number two, when energy is revealed, because it can be revealed in endless ways, it doesn't be revealed at all. It is bislapshus, it's like a decision to, not naturally, not natural. And it is berichuk, it's producing something which is not its world necessarily. Mashenke, Isapas B'derech HaMeila is close and B'derech HaMeila. And the source is nirgish in the result. You look at you know Mo'e. Look at Seich, Midless, you know the Seich. You look at the stone flying, you don't know the koyach. You don't see it, you don't know it. You don't even know why it's happening. You don't see the koyach ruch, and you don't even know why there's this koyach ruch. What produced this energy? Yeah, yesh l'hoisiv. By the number 43. Are we clear, guys? Feedback? Feedback on the Zoom. Yeah? Oh, good. So why are we learning this? So just a question from yesterday. So why are we learning this? First of all, in Avodah, there's tremendous ramifications. We're talking about one needs to have on the environment, on your family environment. It's moir and it's lapsus. And it's hard to know which is more important, just being an example. Just being an example. You're not getting into the kids' world. You're just being a chassid and the effect that has on your child, on your environment. And then there's the hashpah. And getting involved in the kids' world and be slapshus and descending there, and it's not your world, and trying to figure it out, and getting affected by it. You get affected.
Chinuch is oir, but to get involved with the child, you need a slapshus.
Chinuch is both. You could argue the chinuch is mainly a slapshus. It's both. It's both. It's both. I mean, in the classroom, it's all these slapshus. But outside the classroom, that the teacher's got to. There's elements in the classroom. But that's outside the classroom. That's where it's the oir. They just see the teacher, the way he davens, the talks. But there's a tremendous pool. But it's also in the classroom too. It's the way he teaches and says those, explains. But akaponim, that's one thing. That's an avodah. But aside from that, I just want to add, why are we learning this? This is the way God is creating. God, David is saying, please get to know me. Appreciate me, get to know me. We're learning about the Eibush and creation. So that itself is already reason to learn this. In addition to Shleibus of it is to bring it into our Avodah, which we'll see at the end of the Maimon stuff to some degree. Okay, let's continue with the number 43. Yesh lahoisiv the zeh sha'pu'ul le'indigish she'b'ha'pu'ul le'indigish ha'koyach. This, that in the pool, you don't see the koyach, the stone flying, you don't see the energy. can't see it. You don't even know why it is flying. It's not only because the result itself, the flying stone, it's completely not in the world of the koyach. Energy can be manifest in many ways or in no ways. Even it's also true mitzad the koyach. I've already said this really before, but spelling it out. Mitzad the source itself, the source itself is going to be beyond the world of just stones flying. Since the pull of koyach is to do something that is novel, that's not in his world, energy is energy, and here he's getting down to casting a stone. So mitzad the both ways, they're just not in each other's world. It's not always that way. Sometimes it's only mitzad one that the other is not its world. Therefore, since what the koyach is producing is not its world, by definition, it's not going to be expressed there. It's concealed. Keep in brackets, within the brackets. Producing something which is not the natural world of the producer. It's by being concealed. It's not by being yourself. I've got to not be myself and do this. It's only when he's not expressing himself, the source, then he can get down. That's in other words, tzimtzum. What tzimtzum means. It's only when there's a tzimtzum that then you can produce something which is completely not your world. This is another a simple, clear way of understanding what the tzimtzum is on the Ein Sof, to produce something which is not in the Ein Sof's world, which is nivroya. Need a tzimtzum. And that's the helim of the moket. Shem Havai. Therefore, the pu'ula that comes from koyach in such a way that's not in the pu'ula, we don't see or feel or understand the koyach at all. There is a koyach, clearly, that's for sure, because things don't happen by themselves. Flying stones, existence can't happen. It's completely novel, but the force, we don't see the force. We don't see it, and we don't even know why there is a force, what the source is. Same thing, not seeing it means you don't know what the source is. Now, to apply this to the age to creation, and wrapping this up, so the Maila, this Avos Mishem Elikim. So creation, where Shem Elikim is the external, overt, Breishis, Bar Elikim, manifested, working. Shibiderech Islapshus, and Elikim is Lashon Rabim, therefore it's creating all of these different creations. Just like the stone flying, you see that there is obviously acknowledge there is a force, but it's not nirgish in the Nivroyim, and therefore the result is that Shem Elikim produces what kinds of creation? Hey mitzius, they emerge as a separate entity. They bittul is bittul hayesh. They don't feel the mocker. They just walk backwards. I don't come out of a vacuum. I must come from somewhere. It says bittul hayesh. Bittul hayesh, the starting point is the self. You acknowledge that there is a mocker. That's when Isabos says mitzad Shem Elikim b'tzimtzum. But when Isabos would be Mishem Havaya, no tzimtzum, shebederech hamela. So then the created being is still in the world of the creator. The Ba'ofen should be Gili B'Nivroim is revealed in Nivroim. And what's revealed is the shleimus of the creator and their bottle. What would be created? The words he uses here are, they are. It could be Yeshleim, it's like Atzilus and Biyah, relatively speaking. The bittul of the new, which is because Atzilus is Yichud Yilon, bittul Metzias, So the bitl of the nivroim shnisav m'shem havaya, there's no tzimtzum, who bitl b'metzias. Atzilus is completely bottle. It's like the oil on the moed, and completely what it's bekiruv and bottle. Unlike Bia. Huh? Sorry? Again, Atzilus is produced in such a way that the result is Atzilus is bittul b'metzias, completely bottled. That's why one of its meanings is eitzel, near, close. On the one hand, there's two taichas. Atzilus means lahatzil, to separate, on the other hand, eitzel, near. So it's produced something, but it's close. Again, like Midas and Seichel, it's close. It's the world of Elikus. We're going to see now, it's not a perfect, maybe touching on the distinction he's going to talk about, like you say.
Is it close in the sense that it's Begiluyah and far in the sense that it's Shem Akim, is far in the sense that it's Be'elam?
There's no far in Atzilus.
So in Shem Akim, when we talk about the difference between
Shem Elikim far, because the world of Biyah is not the world of Atzilus, the world of Nivroim is completely not the world of Elikus. Nivra, it's creation. Al derech yesh me'ayin. Sabbath chadosh, there is yesh me'ayin. So because it's far, the mocker is A, B is lapsus, but not felt. But that it's derech and meila, yeah, relatively speaking. In the big, the Rish Shem Elikim, it's a mocker, Koyach HaGvul, it's a mocker, but not Shem Elikim, the manifested tzimtzum. In its manifested expression, no. On higher levels, yes, but then it's already doesn't conceal the shleimus of the koyach, that the koyach can be both vul and blig vul koyach gets also relative. Like in the classic Shem Elikim tzimtzum, it's not really true because already gvura of Atzilus is Shem Elikim, but there it's in the way, again, it's the shleimus. There the tzimtzum is just the shleimus of the Eibush that it can be metzamtzim himself. Emphasis that the points that we're raising here are addressed, I think, are going to be addressed indirectly in Yiheye. Friends, stretching the mind a little bit, that's good. I've heard of it. Not clear fully. Let's keep on plowing ahead. It's already 5:02. Okay, let's just start this. When you do it, it's known. Chassidus brings two mishalim or more that is inyan to something. The mashal is not absolutely paralleling the nimshal in all of the details. We bring two. Each mashal brings out another prat. What are the two mishalim we have here? The two mishalim of Isabas b'derech hamela is Seichel and Midas and Oirum Ba'ir. What are you bringing a mashal for? When the Sabbath of Derech HaMelech, Misava Bekirav L'Mahava, that which produces in the world of the producer, we bring two mashalim, a mashal dila ba'olu, a mashal da'idam ba'ir. Who? Kiba nimshal, that's because we need both, because of the object of our mashalim, which is Shem Havaya, Gambi, Sabbath of Derech HaMelech. Okay, we'll stop here. And then we'll read on the precipice, because this requires to go further. and we will, Be'ez Hashem, continue tomorrow. The point is going to say that even Bisavos, which is B'derech HaMeila, it's not quite like it produces something which is not, which is made out of the market. Okay, we'll see that we'll visit this tomorrow. The Mila, that's how it works, the Mila.